As I'm learning, it turns out that the midlife crisis, maybe it's not so much of a crisis the way it's been at least solved for me, and it's more like a part of life that it doesn't come with an end to it all, as a crisis would suggest, and it's more like a U shape. You're gonna hit that bottom, and then eventually you're gonna come back up. Now, it all started from conversations with friends where you go, oh, look, you're 45, you get into that stage, probably you're in that midlife crisis. And it's like, okay. And people do, as we've heard, or I've heard at least, you do crazy things. You just go and buy something silly or go on this crazy trip and something that people go, oh man, that's nuts, but they're going through something. And as it turns out, from that book that I'm reading, there's a section about the midlife crisis, which is pretty cool, where Daniel Pink talks about obviously where it all comes from, which is a psychoanalyst called Elliot James, I think his name is, and he just goes and studies a bunch of famous people and realizes that they died at 37, and then through research he maps out that it's the end of the self, basically, and then so it's the end of it all, and that's the midlife crisis. The term becomes bananas, reason why probably me talking about it, or you associated with something, which is pretty nuts. But then other researchers went and thought, you know what, let's go and see if it is a crisis, let's try to back it up with data. And what they found is more like a U shape. And I find that it's not the end to it all. And it's more like you do come down, and then you will get to the bottom of it, but then the good news is that it'll come back up again. The reason for this, as we I think all experience, when we're young, we just in our 20s and our 30s, we go, man, I'm going to conquer the world. I want to be CEO of this. I'm going to build a huge company. I, for example, wanted, like between us, right? I wanted my company to be huge in different countries and be doing a lot of amazing things. I didn't really get there. We managed to do great stuff. The company's still running and doing amazing. It's incredible what has been able to do, but it didn't get there. So I think on the 40s and 50s, the reason why you go down, and also in health, right? Like now, when you're older, you feel a little bit more pain. But going back to my story on the company and the things, is like now the reason why I'm seeing it goes down a little bit where I am is like you start to see, okay, I didn't get where I wanted to go, which it's something you created in your head anyway. So it's kind of an interesting one and a strange one as well. I didn't get there. So then you feel a little bit down. And then also you've already done the thing that you said you wanted to do. In your 30s and 20s, you can't really know how the story is going to look. In your 40s, you can look back, and I can see that a lot of the things about design and branding and marketing that I used to love, now I fell in love with those things a little bit. And so you now go into this low place where it's like, okay, so what does that all mean, right? Like I've trained myself to do that. I now kind of don't want to do the same, but I don't know what to do next. So then you go into these, and that's what happens in your 40s and 50s. Like apparently you just go into this low, kind of the lowest part of, let's say, the U shape. And then the good news, I'm still waiting, in your 50s you go back up again. So maybe you go back up again because you realize that you don't need to achieve these massive things anymore. Like what I wanted to do with my company, what I wanted to achieve, let's say, health-wise. And then you just get to that place of acceptance. Maybe you just go, okay, this is what it is, right? And I'm just going to enjoy the last kind of the tail of my life. And that's why we hear also people saying, enjoy the present, do now, you don't know how much you have, time's don't take it for granted, take advantage of it. And I wanted to get the names right, because this U shape, the study was done by Angus Deaton, interviewing 340,000 interviews. And then later on, these economists, David Blanchflower and Andrew Oswald, they found that Wellbeing consistently slid around of the middle life, and the regularity was intriguing between also men and women. So what this suggests to me is that, let's say if you map yourself in where you're at in that U shape, I am definitely kind of on the bottom section. And I guess it's not a crack in me. There's nothing wrong with the person that is going through it. It's just part of the walk of life. It's just part of something that we need to go through. And I think if you're going through something like that, it's just some is more maybe a biological thing we need to go through as part of life, and we cannot expect it. We cannot avoid it, and that's okay. Also, when you do things about mindfulness and things, there's a lot about acceptance, and being okay where you're at in the present and stuff. This video is not about that, but I can see that how that ties up with your days if you kind of start to accept, or I'm not saying don't do anything about it, but if you accept, hey, this is where I am, it's kind of on the low side, I'm going to try to figure out ways that energize me and make me feel better so I can come to the other side. But give yourself permission that maybe this is part of our biology, right? If it is, well, as my previous video that I did, maybe have a nap just at 2 o'clock when you feel like super low and super down. And the last take that I get from Daniel on this book is going to make sense, is he just offers a really cool point of view, which is maybe we're not great at forecasting. When we're young, we go too far, then we have these huge expectations. Then when we're in the middle, on our 40s and 50s, actually it goes back up to the 50s, so maybe it's late 30s and your 40s, you realize you didn't achieve those things, and you're in that process of acceptance because you forecasted poorly. And now the 50s is a place where you just, now it's what it is, and you're happy or you're okay with where you're at, and it's time to live your life based on your present and the things you have. So no midlife crisis, is more like we need to go through it. If you're into that little sort of that little bottom spot on the U, be kind to yourself it's part of it. And if you have any questions, let me know. Oh my God, this is so uncomfortable. Bye.